in discussing the news stories that are making the rounds on the papers and in an online portals today. I have joining me on the set, Apioko. Good morning.
Good morning,
How
David.
are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Super, super, super. Yeah, so we delve into the papers this morning.
We do.
Okay.
Yes, we do. A lot happening.
Yes, a
making
lot
the
is
rounds.
happening. And sleep well?
So.
Yeah.
Half and half,
Yeah.
here and there.
Yeah.
But it
But
was
you're good.
enough sleep.
All right.
We have energy.
It's good to have you this morning. It's good,
Good to
have
be
you.
here. Good to be here.
All right, so let me just begin. I have the new finder with me. It says on the front page, 30.7 billion Ghana cedi revenue lost in 7 years. This is due to import tax exemptions and tax waivers that are granted to companies. 30.7 billion Ghana cedis. Wow. Okay.
That's a lot
What did
of
we
money.
gain in return? That's the question.
Well, I mean,
Because we grant waivers in order to help companies establish,
to
because we
enable
are looking
business, to create a better enabling
environment.
business
Yeah,
environment,
yeah.
right? However, generally, I would be interested to know what we are importing, what is coming in and what is being wavered to bring these things in,
Yeah.
We've spoken over and over again about the fact that our economy is import heavy. It's part of the reason why we have forex issues, the reason why the city has not been doing so well, because what happens is, to bring things into the country, you are essentially buying them from another country, which means that you're buying it from a country that doesn't use Ghana cedis. That's the first thing. You're buying from a country that doesn't use Ghana cedis. So you need to find a currency that you can use to buy from whichever country it is, whether it's a US dollar, whether it's the British pound, whether it's the euro, whatever it is, right? Now, it means you need to convert your cities to that currency to make the purchase. Now, your city is not so strong, so you're using more cities to acquire that. And basic economics tells us that we have something called a balance of payments, a BOP. So when your imports outweigh, in terms of cost, your exports, then your economy is in trouble.
You're going to have issues.
Right? So I'll be interested to know what we are importing and what we are getting waivers for, because that would also determine, are they things that we can do import substitution for example?
Instead,
can we find them here or encourage industry companies here to produce them so that we're spending less bringing them in? And then we can tax the things that actually need to be taxed.
We can actually make
so
them
that would be interesting. It'd be interesting to have more information about that.
So the new finder goes on. It says the pressure mounts on police to speed up probe into the death of KNUST's graduate. Very unfortunate story there that we heard.
It's an extremely unfortunate story. The young lady, Lois, I believe her name is.
Lois Abnakurante.
Extremely unfortunate. There still seems to be a lot of murky information. You can't go by just what you see on social media. The thing is, when news breaks on social media, sometimes everybody wants to have their say for clicks.
That's what I want to do.
So you can't determine whether all the information that's coming is what it is. And then the other thing is, where there are families involved, passions are high. You've lost a loved one. So you want justice. And so sometimes the facts get a bit marred. So we really want to find out exactly what happened. Did she go on a work trip? It seems like something that her family knew about, you know, and the hotel telling us largely that their CCTV cameras are not working.
I don't understand
That's
that
a problem. We have CCTV cameras in facilities like that, not just for the safety of the facility. So it's not just so it's not just about the property that is within the hotel. So whether it's your television sets, your kitchen, where in industrial spaces, there are lots of expensive things that come together to pull off the running of a hospitality entity. But also for your guests. Guests come in there, and if people are traveling from around the country, from around the world to come and have some respite at your end while they're doing whatever they're doing in the town that you operate within, then you owe them the courtesy of security. But maybe it also, should get us thinking about how we also, so when I'm going somewhere, I ask all these questions. You know, what's the security like? Do you have 24-hour security there? You know, maybe we should also start probing some of these things. And then necessary regulatory bodies should also insist
all
now,
these things being in place.
Because if something goes untoward, you can't always control.
I mean, I don't know how you're
behavior.
operating as a hotel if you don't have CCTV.
You can't always control human behavior and the bad things that people will do. But you do a great disservice to a family who has lost someone in this gruesome manner. And you don't have any information to offer the police, or it's not right.
Well, what do you have on?
All right, so we have the Chronicle here. Government completes 75% of 200 state housing homes at Amrehia. And there's a picture there of Mr. Opon Nkrumah inspecting the Amrehia project. We also have Eni and Vito fire blanks in court, failed to squeeze $950 million from government at the International Court of Arbitration. Now, I don't know if you've been following that story, the two oil firms that, you know, been going back and forth with each other. So that's what we have on the front page. There's also here, MPA donates quadruple GCMS equipment to GAEC.
Okay.
All right, so that's also something that's happening. But I'm interested in this state housing homes, you know. Interested in
the one at Amrahia?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm interested
to find out a bit more. Well, we can delve into that. We can delve that a little bit. Let me just give you what I have on the daily guide here, and we can go into some of the details in a bit. Free SHS. This is on the front page of Daily Guide. We have free SHS. Give me my stone. This is Nana speaking. Give me my stone. But it's interesting because some stories making their rounds, and I saw some videos and so on. Yesterday in particular, I saw some videos that actually you see Mahama and you hear him say in 2014, and it's a story we covered when we were City FM Online.
Right.
You know, that he officially launched the Progressive Free SHS, you know, and he says it is duly launched and so on. So there's this back and forth is going to go on for some time because everybody wants to claim that they are the originators.
We're in the political season,
so
and
this
that's
is the time.
what will happen. And it also goes back to conversations about successive governance or continuous governance as a continuum.
I'm telling you,
know, where
it's so important.
If one person starts something, of course, if credit is due, you give credit where it's due. But at the end of the day, should it matter that somebody started something, laid the foundation or laid the piping, and then somebody else comes?
Because that's life. That's how life works.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you build on what your father left behind.
And we're in a democracy where in a space where elections happen and presidents, government officials don't hold term beyond a certain time frame. So if that's the case, then it means that you can't be president or a leader in perpetuity.
No, you can't.
Forever and ever, amen. And so, you know, all these, but political seasons.
So they are feeling free.
We'll hear a lot of that.
Baumia and Napo hit the road running. Minority security recruitment claims false. This is coming from Majority. And this one, we need to delve a bit more into that. You have made Tema safe, Mankralo to IGP. So these are some of the headlines on the front page of the Daily Guide.
All right, we have the Anchor here, the Anchor newspaper. And once again, very sad story. 24-year-old KNUST graduate found dead in hotel pool while on business trip with her boss, and the family demands justice. Then we have Baumia storms north for round 2, Napo for community engagement. So we're still seeing His Excellency Dr. Baumia go around with his newly unveiled, officially unveiled running mate, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, and they're making their rounds, and they'll be up north. And that would be a big one because the northern space is where the flag bearer hails from. BEC candidate delivers during exams. So there's a picture here. BEC candidate is having a baby during the exams.
You know, we're having a conversation in the programs department just this week, earlier this week. And one of our colleagues was just commenting how that, at least this year we haven't heard of any pregnancies.
Well, here we go.
Here we
go.
It's happened.
Well, here we go.
All right. Well,
and
congrats to her, by the way.
At a later date, we need to address this teenage pregnancy.
It's an issue.
Because when you speak to the entities that track the statistics of teenage pregnancy, it's getting worse.
And in some enclaves,
it's getting worse.
Much
and we're
worse
not
than
paying
others.
attention to it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I remember when we went to one of the communities during our Relief for Volta campaign, you know, because we went in there after the spillage happened, September, October. I spoke to a young lady at the time when I was speaking to her. She was 22 and she was walking with a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old who were her kids. And I asked her, you know, spoke very well. She said she wants to be a journalist and that's why she was coming to speak to me, because I guess she felt, you know, let's have a conversation. Media House is here. And then I asked her, you know, oh, how are you coping? She says, oh, well, you know, Auntie, to be honest, look at where we are. This place is supposed to be a school. That's a safe haven we're at.
Yeah.
But look at the state of it. Sometimes we don't go to school. And really the thing is, when you're not going to school, you don't have anything to do. You give birth.
Yeah, of course.
You know, so we need to start paying attention to some of these things, especially in the spirit of international conversations of empowerment and gender equality and all that. Your girls cannot compete on a level playing field if you're not considering things like this.
Yeah. All right. I have the daybreak here. So a Beige Bank bought Forex from an unlicensed company. Is a witness in the court case that's ongoing. Compare MPP and NDC records ahead of December elections. Baumia is speaking to voters. They clap when you lie, Napo is saying, and MPA donates equipment to GAIEC. That's it for the daybreak.
All right. The business analyst we have for the month of June, inflation decreases marginally from 23.1% to 22.8%. And there's another story here. The 2025 Multiple Indicator Cluster Survey, GSS, UNICEF sign an MOU. Okay. So GSS, that's the Ghana Statistical Service, and the GSS. And then 75 local timber manufacturing companies collapse.
Wow.
That is scary.
Wow.
That is scary.
Wow.
That is scary. But again, we'll probably have to find out why that is happening.
Okay.
Then there's a picture of Upon Nkrumah here, same story as we read in the Chronicle. Government will complete abandoned affordable housing projects. And then we have NAM1 case. Ruling on submission of no case to answer rescheduled to July 11, which is today.
Okay, so government will complete abandoned projects. That comes there. There's a headline here that says government revives stalled housing projects to address deficit on the BNFT. Let me just read a portion of that and then we can look at some of the stories that intrigue you on your side. Government revives stalled housing projects to address deficit. Now, government has resumed work on several stalled housing projects across the country in a bid to address the acute housing shortage. All right, led by the State Housing Company, the goal is to complete the abandoned projects while developing new ones to provide affordable housing for Ghanaians. Now, Minister for Works and Housing, Kojo Upon Nkrumah, recently toured the housing units under construction by the SHC in Adenta and Amrahia in the Greater Accra region. The visit was to get first-hand experience of efforts by government to revitalize projects that had been idle for years due to various challenges, including legal disputes. So that's what we have here, and we hope that proper traction will be given to this so that, you know, at least if we can release, you know, a few tens of thousands of houses into the system that are ready to be bought at an affordable price, that should go a long way.
Affordable is relative.
Yeah. You know, I mean, you know me, I always say that we judge ourselves by the weakest and the most helpless of us, not by the strongest, you know, and the wealthiest of us. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you're weakest and you're less fortunate, most vulnerable, cannot afford, then
you can't say,
have an issue.
You know,
but
there
are limitations there. There are limitations.
Yeah.
Building materials, and it also goes back to building tech.
Okay.
You know, what we're using to build, where we're sourcing it from, are we importing it so that it's already expensive, and you know, nobody wants to build something and sell it and make a loss. Even though government, when government is doing housing typically. When government is providing housing or building housing for the populace, you're not thinking about profit. But at the same time, government shouldn't have a hole in their coffers, right? And then what are the structures for acquiring the housing? You know,
so like mortgages,
absolutely,
and proper financing,
that kind of thing. Or do you have to prove that you earn below a certain income line so that you're eligible to pay in installments over 5 years or something of the sort? And Rwanda, who has their elections tomorrow, they did something similar some years ago. So they cleared an area which was actually part of a business district in, you know, in the country.
In Kigali.
Not in Kigali, but within the country. So they cleared an area, and the idea was to build 1-bedroom units. So they did about, I think, 1,200 of them, just fill the space, and then handed the keys over to people who earned below a certain income line. But the other thing was that while they were doing the building, they were actually gaining traction in documenting these people. So there's evidence that you ride motor taxi. Motor taxi is their version of Okada or whatever we call here. You know, and they've also got to the point where their tax net is very broad. I think this is about 80%. Yeah, so you can even pay your tax as a motor taxi rider, as someone who sells tabletop goods. Pay your tax through mobile money. You know. And so they're able to track income to a large extent. And so when you say, you come to me, David, and you tell me that I earned this, and this is what it amounts to in a year, then you know that, okay, then David probably wouldn't be able to afford housing at a certain level. So we need to look at some of those structures. It's not just about building the housing, but then acquiring the housing or handing it over to the people who really need it in the country. That is the angle. So it doesn't end up somebody who already has 10 houses. You know what I mean?
I know, right?
Yeah, and then you're renting it out.
No. This is not doing business with something that should be helping
watch
people.
That. We need to watch that. Yeah, so I want us to go back to the Chronicle.
Good.
So this this issue about any of it, you know, this court thing, you know, I think it's been very interesting. It's been making the rounds. And so the story begins like this. 2 oil firms, Eni Ghana Exploration and Production Limited and Vital Upstream Ghana Limited, have failed to squeeze a whopping $915.8 million from the government of Ghana at the International Arbitration Tribunal in Stockholm, Sweden. This follows a dismissal of almost all the reliefs they were seeking at the International Arbitral Tribunal, including an order directing the Republic of Ghana and its agency, the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC, to pay damages amounting to $915.8 million. They had praised the tribunal for the payment of that amount as losses they claimed to have suffered as a result of alleged breaches of the petroleum agreement on the part of the Ministry of Energy and GNPC. The dismissal is contained in a 145-page award finding, order, and declaration of the Stockholm Chamber of Commerce arbitration, and it's dated July 8th, 2024. The parties were in court under the 1976 arbitration rules of the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law, with Eni Ghana Exploration and Production Limited and Vital Upstream Ghana Limited as claimants, and the Republic of Ghana and the GNPC as respondents. So, I mean, there's a lot of legalese. I'm not going to go into the whole thing. But, you know, when things like this happen, we should be concerned. If 2 companies that run some kind of business on our land want to claim damages or claim some kind of compensation from our government, that's not the money of the energy minister. Or it's our money, and we should be interested in, you know, why that's happening. So I also want to see how this plays out over time, you know, so that because 950.
It's a lot.
I mean, how much are we asking the IMF? How much have we even received from the IMF?
Can you imagine?
That's a lot of money. Do we even have that money? And what does that mean? You know, and how, if indeed we, thankfully, this thing hasn't gone through, right?
No, it hasn't gone through.
You know, the International Court of Arbitration didn't allow it to happen. But imagine they did. Where are we going to get that money from? And if indeed we did breach some kind of contract under a law, how did that happen?
Yeah.
You know, I think we need to, as citizens, also pay attention to some of these conversations. Sometimes we're very surface.
Of course, because it's like, oh, these are the technical people. Let
You
them deal with it.
understand? We should
but it
be
concerns
interested
us.
in that. Yeah.
All right, Abioko, thank you very much for
Thank
joining me
you.
this morning.
Thank you for having
right?
me. It's
you.
been a pleasure.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so Abioko is the head of Progress Production right here at Channel One TV. Sports is next. Don't go anywhere.
All done?
All right, welcome back now. Let's do the sports stories. And England, 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 hey. They say it's coming home. Do you know why they say it's coming home?
No, tell me why.
Because England says, and I guess rightly so, that they are the home of football.
Right.
In the sense that they created the game of football. So finally,
It's coming home.
is coming home. Well, let's see what happened last night. So England produced another comeback to book their place in the final of the 2024 Euros after they defeated the Netherlands 2-1 in Dortmund last night. Now, the English had to dig deep after falling behind to a Xavi Simons goal after 7 minutes. Now, 11 minutes later, Harry Kane scored a penalty following a VAR review to level the game. Now, with the game heading to extra time, Aston Villa forward Ollie Watkins struck to send the English through to the final on Sunday and to give Ronald Koeman his first ever loss to England as a manager or a player. All right, well done to the English. I mean, nobody gave them, well, I didn't give them a fighting chance, from the beginning of the tournament. But here they are in the finals.
Good luck to them. Anyway, Kweku, let's move on. Still in some sports stories, though. Here at the CAF Interclub, Ghanaian League Championships Summertex will discover their path on the maiden CAF Interclub campaign when the preliminary draw of the CAF Champions League is held today. The draw will be held in Cairo and in Swatreman in pot 3 with 15 other teams that are not ranked by CAF. Summertex are currently in camp preparing for the new season, and they are expected to put in efforts to be ready for the African campaign. The CAF Confederation Cup will also see its preliminary draw being done, and Ghana's Nswatreman will be in the hat after they booked their tickets by virtue of winning the MTN FA Cup. Nswatreman will see if they can emulate Dream FC's run to the semi-finals of the Confederation Cup last season.
All right. So, all around, sports is exciting.